Hello, I'm Demi Utley, the founder here at Utley Strategies, and today I want to cover one of the most popular questions I'm asked, which is how do I improve my win rate when I'm responding to RFPs? And this is a great question, but I want to just note that your win rate alone does not tell you if you have a successful or even a sustainable approach to proposals. You need to be looking at your overall proposal strategy and how your win rate is reflected in terms of that, which I'll get into that in just 1 minute. So in today's video, I'm going to cover how to actually define your win rate and then give you a few tips on how you can actually increase it. Before we dive into ways that you can increase your win rate, let's first talk about what is a good win rate. So your win rate is going to vary dramatically based on the type of RFP you're responding to. So let's say that there's a brand new opportunity, this whole new RFP. That's going to be a lot different than if it's a RFP for a contract where you are currently the incumbent. Part of this is because it's been found that incumbents are more likely to win. They're more likely to have a rate between, say, 60 to 90% for re-winning that contract. Whereas for brand new opportunities, a lot of win rates will hover around much lower, maybe even like the 15% mark. This is going to vary dramatically based on if you have a established relationship with a buyer or if it's an RFP that you just found online and you're starting to respond to that. In the latter case, those numbers can start to get into the single digits as far as the percentage for your win rate. So, of course, having a relationship with the buyer is going to greatly increases your chances of winning and thus improve your win rate. So, given all of this, the short answer to what is a good win rate is it depends on your approach. So, for example, some companies take a really aggressive approach to RFPs and they respond to any sort of RFP they see that their company is even remotely qualified for. Those companies are more likely to have a lower win rate just because they're responding to so many different opportunities, many of which may not be the perfect fit for their company. On the other hand, I've seen some companies where they only respond to RFPs if the customer specifically reached out to them and asked them to respond to this RFP because they want to work with them. So in those cases, of course, they're going to be in a better position to actually win those projects, and they're going to have a much higher win rate because they're only responding if they are likely to win. So your win rate is going to vary depending on your actual approach. If you are taking an approach of responding to a lot of RFPs, then you can aim to have, a lower win rate means that you're probably in line with what you're doing. If you are responding to only those where you are positioned to win, then you're going to have a much higher win rate. That being said, most companies hover somewhere in between. I would say 40% is the most common win rate that I see that is pretty standard and average based on the research that I've seen. So if you're right around that mark, then it means that you're responding to enough that you're trying to grow your business and move into new areas, but you're still going after the ones and putting an effort to those opportunities where you are positioned to win. Okay, so let's talk about how you can actually increase your win rate. The first and probably most important thing that you can do is to start to develop relationships before the RFP comes out. So one way that you can do that is reach out to the customer and contact them if you see there's a contract that you want to go after and you see that it's going to come up for renewal, say like next year or something like that. You can reach out to them and start establishing a relationship right now. Or you can also focus your marketing efforts on getting in front of those buyers before they ever get to the RFP stage. So that's going to, vary depending on what you're doing as far as marketing, but really focusing on those specific buyers and getting in front of them pre-RFP is going to help you to have those relationships when you actually do start responding to those RFPs. A lot of companies will wait until they see an RFP and then they just respond to it and they're confused as to why they didn't win. And while you can win, sometimes in those cases, having a whole marketing approach before they go to RFP is the best way for you to establish those relationships and increase your likelihood of winning those contracts. Another way you can increase your win rate is to only respond to strong opportunities. So I kind of talked about this a little bit earlier in the video, but one thing that you can do is go through and see, okay, do we have a relationship with a buyer? And if you don't, maybe you don't respond to it. Or maybe it's a completely new project and there's no incumbent, so that means you have a better chance of winning, so you go after it. Whatever that looks like for your company, make sure that you're going through and doing some sort of vetting to make sure that it is a good fit for your company and you're not going to spend too much resources going after an opportunity that you're not likely to win. Another thing that you can do to improve your win rate is to really understand your competitors and how they are pitching, especially within their proposals for your specific solution area. So RFPs are designed to be very competitive. That's why there is the whole RFP process, is to elicit competition and get everyone to send in proposals so they can get the best bid. So because of this, it's ideal that you learn as much about your competitors as possible, ideally before the RFP is released. If that hasn't happened, then of course do as much research as you can once the RFP is out, so that way you can create a more competitive and compelling proposal for the buyer. Another thing that you can do to improve your win rates is make sure that you are really speaking directly to the buyer within your proposal. So this means you need to be tailoring your content to them and their specific goals as much as possible. That way it's really resonating with them while they're reading through your proposal. That's going to help you to earn more points, build more trust with the buyers, and ultimately win more projects. Okay, that's all that I have for today for a very quick overview of RFP win rates and what you can do to improve yours. Now that you have a little bit of idea for what to do, you can go and start to learn more about how you can actually put all of this into practice. One way you can do that is to sign up for one of our trainings where we cover all of these tips and more and how to improve your proposals, especially when you're responding to RFPs. One course that you can look into is our Bid to Win training, which is all about creating your competitive strategy, understanding your competitors, and then actually putting that into place for your RFPs. I will link to that below this video, so make sure you check that out. Another thing that you can do if you are not interested in a training is feel free to schedule a consulting session with me where we can talk through your proposal strategy and your approach and see if there's a way that you can refine that to hopefully increase your win rates and win more contracts. I've also linked to that below this video, so you can go ahead and schedule time, and I will see you in the next video.